What's up, Ultra Buddies? Durian here with a Ginga Victory deck profile. Ginga Victory is a deck that tries to control the flow of the game by playing mostly doubles, and also excels at utilizing BP grade ups, especially versus basic types, to kind of counter what your opponent is doing. And basic types are very common right now in the Ultraman card game meta, so this deck is quite strong right now because it kind of preys on them. So what we're going to be doing in the video today is we're going to go over the cards in the deck to explain the general strategy. We'll talk about mulligans, and then we will give you some play style examples. So I hope it'll be really helpful for you all, whether you want to play Ginga Victory yourself or kind of look out for the strategies you might be able to beat it with. So let's talk about the cards. The first big bad boy is the Ginga triple rare. The only triple rare in the deck. Is a pretty much easier to put together this deck than some others. So this character is a 11,000 double, 17,000 triple, and while you have 2 or more double ultra heroes, this character's BP grade increases by 1, and additionally, while you have 4 more double ultra heroes, it gets a plus 1,000 BP. So if you have 2 or more doubles, this is going to be a 17,000, and if you have 4 more, it's an 18,000. So the 18,000 is very, very strong. But we care more about the doubles because sometimes it's a little tricky to get the 4. So that is the main powerhouse of our deck. Let's talk about the next Ginga one. Is a Ginga Strium. Ginga Strium has a double or triple effect. When this character enters play, if you have 3 or more double ultra heroes, which is kind of hard to get, you may give this character's battle opponent or battle opponent of one of your victory cards over here a BP grade decrease. BP grade decrease is so strong. So this is fantastic. It's a card that can win its own lane or win other lanes. So a very, very strong ability, gives you some versatility there. And then we'll talk about Victory. So the Victory side, Victory is a new pair for Ginga from BP04. And it says, while you have the character's battle opponent is basic or power, you get a BP grade up, and that's going to happen as a double, single or double. And then additionally, if you have 3 or more double ultra heroes, it gets plus 1,000, making it a 17. So pretty similar to the Ginga once you have 3. But victories are cards that don't really care to be triples. I mean, really, this whole deck doesn't want to be triples, except for the Ginga Strium, because sometimes the weak 12,000 double power isn't enough to take over a lane, even if the BP get down. So the last cards I have here these are kind of clones. Basically, they're 8, 13, 16s, and this Victory gets a BP grade increase versus basic type, and the Ginga Stream gets a BP grade up versus a speed types. So everything except for Ginga Stream is going to be able to get a BP grade up. So you're going to have triple power on the double stack, except for the Stream, and the Stream sometimes you want to set up that as a triple. So for the level 2s, we have some vanilla on the Victory side. We have this new Victory. I don't have the image for it, sorry, but it says double or single or double. You can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can get any level 3 Ginga or Victory, put it in your hand, and then discard a card. So it helps fix your hand. We've got a Ginga Scene Search, so remember that's top 5 cards. Add a scene, discard the rest. We have the Ginga Return 2 or Cycler 2. Which basically is a single or double. You can take 2 cards from your hand, put them underneath your deck, and then draw up to that many cards. So usually get rid of the cards you don't want, try to get the cards you want. And then a Ginga that gets a BP grade increase for speed type. So it's either 5, 10, and 14. And then level 1s, we have 2 Victory level 1s. This one is reveal top 3 for a Ultra Hero. And then the Ginga level 1s is draw 2, put 1 back. So that's all the ultra heroes. We have 7 scenes, and we have Battle for Dreams at 3 and activate operations for Magna Wave. Activate Operation Magna Wave for 4. So let's start with Magna Wave because it's the new one. So what this does is it gives your Ginga. If you have the Ginga, you can discard one of your cards. You give one of your battle opponents of your ultra hero type basic or speed for this turn, and then give a Ginga Victory plus 1,000. So the plus 1,000 is sometimes very important, sometimes doesn't matter at all. But you'll notice that we have both the Victory level 3s work against basics types. So if you don't have the proper type alignment, you can turn them to basic. And then we're playing quite a few Gingas that get BP grade up versus speed. So if you need to give speed there, very strong. So that's why we're playing this one at 4, because it's this one. Not only is it a round 2 scene, which means you can get it out earlier and kind of secure lane 3 a little bit better, but it's a little bit more versatile because you have more ways to access it. And then are, of course, the BPO3 scene, Battle for Dreams, which is a round 3 scene, and you have to take one of your Gingas that is either a double stack or a triple stack, and you return the bottom card to your hand. So if it's a double, it'll go down to just a 3. If it's a triple, you add the 2 back to your hand, add the 1 back to your hand. So yeah, so if you have a double, you'll put the 2 back, and it'll be left as a single. But if you have a triple, you'll put the 1 back, and you'll be left with a double. So, and then when you do that, you get to choose 2 of your single or double Ultra Heroes and give plus 2,000 BP for this turn, and then you discard the scene. So it's really, really strong effect. This is like the game winner card. And to be honest, I thought I was playing 4, and so I might swap these for 4. I think you could go either way. But I do think Magna Wave is a bit more versatile in terms of like usage. It's more versatile versus like more winning you the game. So that's like the trade-off you have to make. I think after this, I'm actually gonna swap these right now. Yeah, let's do it right now. I think Battle for Dreams is way better. Hot swap, mid-die profile. Whoa. This is the card that wins you the game, and I'll explain a little bit in the playstyle examples, a bit more about that, why we're going to do that. But we want enough scenes so that we can get the card off of our scene searcher, because the deck doesn't, build up that many cards in hand, so you can be a little tricky, and Battle for Dreams is like the card you care the most about in terms of trying to win the game, I think, at least in my opinion. So let's talk about Mulligan strategies. There's a few things you're looking for, and it might depend on if you know what you're playing against or not, but in general, I'm looking for these cards. Most importantly, I'm looking for these cards. So I would like to have one level 1 that gives me a card, and I would like to, or a scene searcher. I much prefer to have the level 1s over the scene searchers. So ideally you're looking for one of these cards, because it is, even though you're playing doubles, it's very difficult to get all the way to like a lane 4, lane 5 situation by playing doubles every turn, even if you don't draw any cards off of these. You start to run out of cards really fast, and when you run out of cards, you run out of options, and when you run out of options, you're kind of forced into making certain plays, and you don't want to be forced into making a play. You'd like to have the options. So it's all about having the options there. And then also, like I mentioned, having the scene, especially Battle for Dreams, is the way you win the game. So you would like to have, that's actually pretty important. If you know what matchup you're going up against, I think there's a few very specific matchups where you really need the triple rare Ginga. And if you have a decent hand that has the Ginga in hand, it might be worth keeping it. So the matchup for that is Omega, because Omega likes to play Reckiness. Like after, in lane 3, they probably want to play a Reckiness, and then that's only going to go up to 16, and your Ginga's going to be able to beat it for 17. You play the 17, you play your Battle for Dreams, and you try to go for game. It's actually less important that you try to go for game there than the opponent. If the opponent Omega gets the lead on lane 3, then they can play their scene, and if they play their scene, it's really tough for you. But it's really hard for them to contest the Ginga unless they set it up like very well, where like they use a Reckiness armor, and then it's 18 for the turn, and then that's going to beat your 17. But then if you have Magna Wave out, then you get the +1. So there's kind of like some tricky things there. But in general, they have to specifically set up to counter the Ginga for Omega. So if you know you're going to go against Omega, I would recommend trying to keep this so that you can prevent them from playing their round 3 scene, because that's going to make it very hard for you to win. That's all I'll say for that. In general, when I mulligan, I'm looking for cards that give cards into my hand, so that if I have other cards which help me find things, then I can get rid of more cards. Like if I get a scene and I already have a bunch of scenes, then I'm happy to discard a scene for this victory to get a 3, or to send cards back to kind of try to fix my hand. So that's the general idea. Just to reiterate, we're looking for cards that add cards to our hand, and then ideally we're looking for this as well. But I would rather have cards that add to my hand than I have Ginga, unless I'm playing Omega specifically, in which case I might be willing to keep a hand that doesn't have any draw power, just because I have this, because I think this is so important for that matchup. Anywho, let's move on to some play examples. So, let's get these guys out of here. I'll make little piles so I can I can kind of go through things. Victories over here, Gingas over here, and then our scenes. Okay, so when we're leading up the game, like I mentioned, I personally would like to start off with one of these. This is because a lot of decks tend to like to build a triple in the first lane, and you are able to sacrifice the first lane because you're so good at building doubles with BP grade up power later. So it's fine to just play one and then give it up, or play one and build it into a double, or a triple if you need to. So these two, victory is kind of like a backup. I prefer not to have it, but if you have to have it, then you have to have it. So ideally, let's say we're going to be playing a level 1 in lane 1, and then in lane 2, so then for turn 2, we're kind of splitting it up. So our first 2 turns are setup turns. So what I mean by that is we're going to be trying to set up the rest of the game in those first 2 turns. We're trying to fix our hand, we're trying to get card advantage, we're doing things like that. So ideally you're playing a 1 here, and then in lane 2, in our second turn, we can be playing a level 2 and then leveling up. Or if you have the Ginga, you might do something like this. So we'll just do some example hands. So something like this. And then if you just had this Ginga by itself, you just pretend it's like that. So you're not committing anything on the first 2 lanes. Obviously, you'd like to have a level 2 here. So this is the part where if your opponent knows that you're going to play like this, then they can try to take lead here and then snowball the game in their favor. But they have to consciously make that decision. And if they don't have lead, then they can't always make that decision. So anyway, so our turn 2, we're hopefully leveling up here. If we just played a single, of course, we're not going to be leveling up there. We're just going to leave it. So lane 2, we're trying to fix our hand by sending 2 back, drawing 2. We're trying to look for top 3 to grab a 3. We're trying to grab a scene card to set up our hand. And then in lane 3, or turn 3, is when we're gonna start getting a little bit aggressive. So our ideal play in turn 3 is this Ginga. And that's because it does not care at all about what your opponent is doing. It's always going to be a 17. Most decks cannot handle a 17 there. So we're happy to do that. However, we can also go for the victories here, which are going to be 16,000. Either when you do it, 16,000. But this is not the only way you can play. Typically, you'll go for this. Okay. We'll talk about the general strategy. So typically, we'll go for something like this. We have 2 doubles here. We're kind of leaving things open so that we can adjust. So this is what I mentioned when I said in the beginning, we're controlling the flow of the game. You're committing as little as possible, but still trying to we're fighting for lead. I don't think they can beat the Ginga, so I'm fine to leave these ones for later, to play them later, or things like that. So basically, you're trying to play as little cards as possible while A, being safe, and B, getting the lead. I think playing safe is better than getting the lead for what it's worth. So there are situations which I'll rewind a little bit after we go through this, because I think we're almost done with a general play pattern, but you can go for a defensive play as well. So we're trying to get the lead here. If we had lead in any of the other 2 turns, we're happy to play our scenes. That'll help us get through our cards, filter our cards. But ideally, you're getting the lead turn 3. We're gonna have our Battle for Dreams. I'll put it over here. So now we can play our Battle for Dreams, and then hopefully here is when we can kind of finish off the game. So once we're in this spot, we can go for game in many different ways. So let's make it a little bit more realistic. So we might play something like this, and then you can play where's our stream? So we can play our stream here. So imagine this top lane now. We can go for something like this, where we play bop, 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 and then we have 3 ultras, so we can activate Stream, and then this one's gonna get 3 doubles. and then hopefully you can kind of win these ones, right? Like you probably win this one and this one because it's hard to contest these like front lane ones, and then you Giga Stream itself down, its opponent down. So even if it's a triple, it's going to be fighting pretty well. And in this case, I think having Magnawave is a little better, so as you can force this one to be a BP grade up basic type, and then you can give plus 1000 here to be a 13. So that's one way you can go for game. In the bottom one, we could try to do something like this. We play our Ginga now in lane 4. We have a triple Ginga, triple Stream, and this one is like your opponent's gonna have a hard time fighting these, especially if you have versus this one. You can BP grade down this lane, and then you can battle for dreams, and then you have a 14,000 here, and then plus 2,000 on any one of these. So I don't know if like these setups make that much sense, but the general idea is you're playing like this in the first couple of turns, and then you're being aggressive in the lead lanes, and then you're trying to find the spots where you can play Ginga Stream alongside your other units to go for a win. And Ginga Stream is okay as a double, but it really excels as a triple because when it's a double, it doesn't always beat opposing triple power. So we can do something like that, or if they haven't committed to that one, this is a really strong play. You can also go for the like super turn 3 cheeser kill, which involves lanes that look like this. And this is not something I don't think you should go for in particular, but you can do it if you do something like you can do it without a scene actually, but if you get a really Ginga heavy hand, you can hit them with like a boom 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 or like a boom boom boom, like some combination of these. Or if you hit a victory here, you can go for a victory in the first lane. That's actually a pretty solid one. We have a victory in the first one, and then this one's probably a 16. Hopefully you get it against a basic type. If they don't level up a triple here, it's going to be hard to beat for them to beat a 12. So then you get to BP grade this one down and then do something like this. So there's like a lot of combinations you can do based on doubles, but the Ginga Stream is a little tricky because ideally, at least in my opinion, ideally we want it as a triple. So that's a 1, a 2, and then a 3. But if you have it as a triple, then on turn 3, even if you have like this, you don't get to activate the effect. So that's why I play it pretty conservatively the first 2 lanes. I try to get the lead in the next lane, play the scene, and now I can line up my Ginga Stream alongside 3 triples plus Battle for Dreams, and that's like your ideal setup. I know this was a bit rambly, but I hope it's helpful to kind of see the play patterns of like setup and then try to go for game. Yeah, so that is the Ginga Victory deck. Remember, we're looking for these cards that give us cards early game, and we're going to use that to try to set up our field for the late game and win around turn 4 is kind of the ideal. If you have the turn 3 setup, go for it. It's pretty brutal, but generally I think our winning image, so to speak, to take from Vanguard is win lane 3, get Battle for Dreams, and line up Battle for Dreams alongside something like Stream to just beat the opponent down, because you can make like just insane power. Like Ginga can go up to 19. It's really hard to beat that. So that is the deck. That is the Ginga Victory. I know the play style example was a little crazy because the deck is pretty flexible. And I forgot I was going to go for a defensive play. So we'll do the defensive play really quick, and then we can move on. And then I'll wrap up the video. So the defensive play basically is if your hand is not how you want it, even after this first couple turns, you can just play something like, you can play any one of these cards that lets you draw cards or filter cards, try to fix your hand, and then go for a Ginga here, or if you have the victory here, just go for a double here, because most likely this is going to be, especially if your opponent didn't play aggressive, they're gonna play a 1 and you're gonna play a 2, and then you go for this one, which what's gonna happen here is that you're gonna have a 17 and they're gonna have a 1-2 double, and they basically can't contest this. You're gonna win this lane, which means on turn 3 you're gonna win one lane, so you're safe. So that gives you an extra turn to make a sacrifice lane or to fix your hand a little bit better. And then I know I keep using this Ginga, but it's the best. It's probably the best card in the game. Then in turn 4, you can go for this, and then you can play Battle for Dreams and kind of do the same thing. So on turn 5, and you can so you can take lead turn 4 and then set up the turn 5 kill. So that's like a more defensive way to go about things, but it still works pretty well. So that is that. Thanks for listening to me ramble about the setups and how to close out the game with Ginga Victory. It gets a little confusing because you have a lot of options of how you want to. It's not necessarily a lot of options when you're playing, but you have to know that all the options you have so that you can set up your doubles correctly. But that's why the first 2 turns are so important, to set up your hand the way you want it to, because if you don't have the options, then you're just kind of like playing whatever you draw, and that's not really a position you want to be in really with any deck, but especially with this one. You don't want to be tossed around by the winds. So again, thanks for listening to me ramble about Ginga Victory. I hope it was helpful. This is probably one of my favorite decks to play right now. And I think if I were playing a qualifier in BP04 format, it would be this. I would be playing this deck along with the super special surprise deck, which I don't think I've told anyone yet, but it's Belial. So yeah, Ginga Victory. Let's go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.